येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयं। नत्वा सरस्वतीं देवीं शुद्धां गुण्यां करोम्यहं पाणिनीयप्रवेशाय लघुसिद्धान्तकौमुदीम्। शिवसूत्राणाम् अध्ययनं प्रचलतस्ति। तत्र पूर्वस्मिन् पाठे अयुण ऋलुक् एओङ् अयौच् हयवरट् लण् इति यावन्ति सूत्राणि अधीतानि। अग्रिमं शिवसूत्रं ञमङणनम इति। काशिकायां किमुच्यते? ञमङणन सर्वे वर्गपञ्चमाः एकत्ररूपेण अत्र संस्थापिताः। ञमङणन इत्येतान् वर्णान् उपदिश्य पूर्वांश्च उपदिश्य अन्ते मकारम् इतं करोति प्रत्याहारार्थं। सो ञमङणनम, सो मकारम् इतं करोति प्रत्याहारार्थं। तस्य ग्रहणं भवति त्रिभिः, इत्युक्ते त्रिभिः प्रत्याहारैः अस्य मकारस्य प्रयोजनं दृश्यते। त्रिषु प्रत्याहारेषु अस्य मकारस्य ग्रहणं क्रियते इति आशयः। पुमखय्यं परे, so all the way starting from the initial a up to ma, iti akarena, halo yamam yamilopaha iti yakarena, namo hraswadachigmunnityam iti ngakarena. So you have three important ones. You have you have yama, and the last one you have ngama. This middle one, yama, which is essentially nothing but the entire Shiva Sutram being captured as a pratyahara, is not there in Ashtadhyayi, but it is used in an Unadi Sutram called Yamantadaha. Tatra Unadi Pathe Yamantadaha iti Sutram vidyate. Let's see it in the sequence. So Yamantadaha iti Sutrena Yam Varnaha Yasya Dhatoho Ante vidyate ityukte Anunasika Dhatuhu. Yam is basically a short form for Anunasika. Panini uses Anunasika at so many places in Ashtadhyayi. You could have easily used yam over here, over there. So yam ityanena ञमङणन iti sarvesham vargapanchamanam anunasika varnanam grhanam bhavati. यमन्ताड्डः इत्यनेन दण्ड रण्ड, so सर्वेभ्यः दण खण रण भण सर्वेभ्यः एतेभ्यः धातुभ्यः ड इति उणादि प्रत्ययः भवितुम् अर्हति. So तत्र उदाहरणानि पश्यामः. अम इति अस्ति, सर्वैः एतत् सूत्रम् अधीतं. पुमखय्यं परे इति सूत्रे अम इत्यस्य ग्रहणं भवति. सो अम इति प्रत्याहारे सर्वे स्वराः, सो य व र ल अन्तस्थाः, वर्गपञ्चमाः एंड हकारः, एतेषां ग्रहणं भवति. पुमखय्यं परे इति सूत्रं. सो पुम प्लस कोकिलः, तत्र आरम्भे सकारस्य आगमः. आई थिंक यू ऑल नो द प्रक्रिया. पुंस् कोकिलः इति भवति. परे इति किमर्थं? That kh letter, which is say k in kokila, should be followed by an letter. Tatra varnah nasti. Yatha kshatriyah iti asti chet tatra pums kshatriyah iti न भवति. अतः पुंस् कोकिलः इति उदाहरणं, पुं क्षत्रियः इति प्रत्युदाहरणम्. अतः अस्माभिः इति प्रत्याहारः इष्यते. हलो यमाम यमिलोपः. Have you studied this sutram by any chance? हलो यमाम यमिलोपः. तत्र अनचि च नो चेत् अचोरहाभ्यां द्वे इत्यनेन द्वित्वं भवति इति ज्ञायते. So Brahma can become Brahma, Vartika can become Vartika. You have a dvitva, and then the dvitva can get reversed by halo yamam yamilopah. So hal varnat parasya yam varnasya. Now these kind of sentences, you should be able to register them very fast. What does hal mean? What does yam mean? So hal varnat parasya yam varnasya vikalpena yam varne pare lopah bhavati. Mostly, so the way generally it works is you take a word, by anachicha you do an optional dvitva and again get rid of that extra repeated one by halo yamam yamilopha. So it's kind of a useless sutram in these examples. Durlabha ityatrapi durlabha iti achorhabhyam dvaityanena dvitvam bhavet. Tatrapi lakarasya lope krute punarekvaram durlabha. Valmiki ityatra yanomayo dve vache iti vartikena dvitvam bhavati. Tadnantaram extra makara is removed. So most of the examples of halo yamam yamilopaha, oh, you have not studied it. It's much later. Okay. So in Siddhanta Kaumudi, he teaches this much early. So I was thinking you also studied it. I forgot. This is much later in Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. So in most of the cases, it will essentially see anachicha and so on are themselves vikalpena. So when you convert shayya to shayya, that itself is optional. So there is really no need to go back again using halo yamam yami lopa. So this is mostly a theoretical sutram. There is only one specific example in the Tadhita Prakaranam. Aditya इति शब्दस्य सिद्धौ हलो यमाम यमि लोपः इति सूत्रस्य प्रयोजनं दृश्यते. So this is the typical example where halo yamam yami lopaha is required. In absolutely all other cases, it is just used as a redundant sutra on the top of something that is already exists, something that already exists in form of a dvitva. So we'll keep that aside. If a sutra is not taught, let's not go in more details. Ngam iti tritiyah pratyahara. This sutram should be familiar with everybody. Ngamo raswadajigamun nityamittyanena ngana. Ya and ma, two initial ones are removed. Ya ma ngana ityetesham sarvesham dvitvam bhavati. Dvitvam ityukte tadrushah eva agamah bhavati. So there is some discussion on why does he give agama of the same letter instead of doing a dvitva and so on. We'll again not go in the details. परंतु तत्र नमो ह्रस्वादचिगमुन् नित्यमिति सूत्रेण किं भवति ह्रस्ववर्णात् परः ङम् वर्णः तदनन्तरं यदि अच् वर्णः विद्यते ह्रस्वात् परः यः ङम् तदन्तं यत् पदं तस्मात् परस्य अचः ङमुट् आगमः भवति. So ङमुट् agama. So this used to confuse me for many years. It might confuse you. The agama looks like ङमण, but actual agama is for ङणन. Understand this. And I used to be confused hell for many years. The actual agama is ङणन. So ङ, for ngakara there is an agama of ngakara, for nakara there is an agama of nakara, for nakara there is an agama of nakara. The sutram reads in a very weird fashion. It reads ङ, ma and na. It's basically ngamut getting converted to ngamud, and ngamut is used as a short form for ङणन. So tatra ngam iti pratyahara tena sthapitah asti. Everybody is familiar with this sutra, right? Or this was also not taught, right? Yeah. So ekam udaharanam diyetam. So
अस्मिन्नपि
tasminnapi
प्रत्यङ्गात्मा
iti nakarasya udaharanam asti. Nakarasya सुगण्यात्मा प्रत्यङ्गात्मा सुगण्यीशः प्रत्यङ्गात्मा तस्मिन्निति इति सर्वाणि उदाहरणानि. प्रत्युदाहरणं किम्? Why does he have to restrict it only to ngam? What would happen if we take some previous two of them?
मकारः स्वीक्रियते चेत् अनुस्वारः भवति, तत्र न भवितुम्
कथम् अनुस्वार? अचि अस्ति किल? ngamo ह्रस्वाद् अचि गमुन् नित्यम्. अनुस्वारः कुतः आगच्छति? So give me an example where makara should not be considered as a part of this sutram.
अमागमः
Amagama, yeah, plus agama, amagama. Twamasi, twam plus asi, twamasi. So you don't say twamasi. So that replication is only for the last three letters of that pratyahara, ng, n, and therefore the ordering of individual letters in this pratyahara is very important. Ya, ma, ng, n. First two you can flip if you want ya and ma, but the last three ng, n must remain towards the end, because tenaiva prakarena tatra ngam iti pratyahara bhavitum arhati. Okay, why cannot this pratyahara be extended ahead? ञमङणन इत्यत्रैव अस्य अन्तः किमर्थं भवति? अग्रे विद्यमानानां वर्णानाम् अस्मिन् प्रत्याहारे किमर्थं न ग्रहणं क्रियते? So then you can say surud asi, bhishag asi. You use the asi word so that there is an ach letter, and then you use a word like marut, surud, and so on, and there you don't get a dvitva. So dvitva is to be restricted for specifically three letters, ng, n, and ma. तान् विहाय तत्र द्वित्वं न भवति. ngamo ह्रस्वात् अचि गमुन् नित्यम् इत्यत्र द्वित्वम् इति अनेन सूत्रेण विधीयते. There is one more interesting bit about this particular Maheshwara Sutra, ञमङणनम. तत्र पश्यामश्चेत् ञमङणनम इति सूत्रमस्ति. कैश्चन वैयाकरणैः इदमुच्यते ञमङणनम इति सूत्रेण अत्र चत्वारः नो च त्रयः प्रत्याहाराः, चत्वारः प्रत्याहाराः. झभय इति अग्रिमं शिवसूत्रं तेन एकः एव प्रत्याहारः ज्ञेय. So you can actually combine the two and create a single Shivasutram called ञमङणनझभय. What happens because of this is that instead of ama, you will be forced to use aya, because now there is no Shivasutram called ञमङणनम. So instead of ama, you will be forced to use aya, Instead of yama, you would be forced to use yaya. Instead of this yama, you would be forced to use yaya. And instead of ngama, you would be forced to use ngaya. So essentially, four pratyaharas get rewritten. The benefit is that you can get rid of one Shiva Sutram completely. Now, we are not going to go in the details, but it can be worked out. So, what you do is you take all the sutras from Ashtadhyayi, where there is Amma Pratyahara, where there is Yam Pratyahara, where there is Ngam is there in Unadi Patha, and there is Ngam Pratyahara, and you try to rewrite the sutras by using the Ya Pratyahara instead of Ma Pratyahara. So, Pumakkhayyam Pare, instead of that, you would say Pumakkhayyai Pare. So, you understand what I'm saying, right? Instead of ma, you combine these two, ञमङणन झभय, and then amma becomes anya. Similarly, yama becomes nyaya, and so on. You look at the individual sutras that have those pratyaharas and you rewrite them. When you rewrite them and you work out a few things, you understand that this is easily doable. There is absolutely no counter example or no problem or no abrupt situation that can come in. You can easily get rid of the ञमङणनम by adding the ya letter in all those pratyahara instead of ma. It is basically a redundant addition. So for all those individual sutras, you will not get examples where jha really matters or bha really matters. As long as the pratyahara is there and as long as all the letters are in the pratyahara, it's basically okay. We are actually saving on one Shiva Sutram. So many people propose this. So kechana vyakaranaha yamaganam tatha jabhay iti dve sutre ekikritya ञमङणन झभय इति एकमेव शिवसूत्रम स्यात् इति वदन्ति. If you do that, pratyaharas are going to be renamed. So ityasya sthane aya, yam ityasya sthane yaya, ngam ityasya sthane ngaya iti pratyaharaha bhavanti. So the sutras will have to be rewritten. Pumakkhayyam pare ityasya sthane khayyam pare. Halo yamam yamilopah ityasya sthane halo yayam yamilopah. नमोर्हस्वादचिगमुन्नित्यम इत्यस्य स्थाने ञयोर्हस्वादचिगमुन्नित्यम. So there is some kind of laghava. This aspect has been discussed by Bhashyakara in details, but eventually he says that there is some kind of samshaya that comes in, not inaccuracy, just samshaya. And therefore he says, in order to avoid that samshaya, in order to avoid some kind of confusion for kids, for beginner levels, it's okay to keep these two in two different sets itself. यथा संख्यमपि विनश्येत् इति सन्देहः भवेत्. So in नमोरस्वादचिगमुन्नित्यम you have a yatha sankham that might be lost, that might cause a problem, is what he's saying, or hypothetical arguments. But essentially he says, let's not change it, it's not that important. You keep ञमङणनम as a separate Shiva Sutram, jhabhay as a separate Shiva Sutram. Yes.
Is it because typically you won't see words ending with bhakara or jhakara because then jashtvam plays a role and makes it bakara and jakara, and then so then those letters are not included in the modified Shiva Sutra.
That's exactly the reason. So essentially, addition of these two, jha and bha, is a completely harmless thing. It will not cause any new words to enter, because all these words usually, till you reach the sutram like halo yamam yami lopaha and so on, would have been converted to jashtva by sutras in 8.2 and so on. So that's one of the reasons why addition of these two letters is considered harmless. अग्रिमं शिवसूत्रं झभय इति केवलं द्वौ एव वर्णौ, झ भ इत्येतौ वर्णौ उपदिश्य पूर्वांश्च उपदिश्य अन्ते यकारम् इतं करोति प्रत्याहारार्थं तस्य ग्रहणं भवति एकेन अतो दीर्घो यञि. So starting from ya, from higher varat all the way till jhabhay, a single pratyahara yaya, starting from ya of higher varat up to ya. Ato dirgho yai. In the Tinanta Prakriya, you see the dirgha for words like pachami, pachavaha, pachamaha. That dirgha is caused by this sutram, ato dirgho yai. The immediate next sutra is extremely familiar to you, supicha. The same kind of anuvritti comes in supicha, causes dirgha in cases like ramabhyam. So Ramaya, Ramabhyam ityatra sarvatra supicha ityanena dirghah bhavati. Tatrapi, the sutras in the same sequence. Ato dirgho yai supicha. So yai is taken as an anuvrutti in supicha. So yayadau supratyaya pare adantasya angasya dirghah bhavati iti tatra ashayah. So ato dirgho yai supicha yai iti udaharanam. पचामी पचावः पचामः तत्र यय इति प्रत्याहारे किं किं भवति तत्र वर्ग पंचमाः so ञमङणन so that's why पचामी there is a m over there so you get a dirgha सर्वे अंतस्थाः so you have w so पचावः so you get a dirgha over there and झकार भकारौ that's for supichno so ramabhyam you get a dirgha over there so all three examples for varga panchamaha, the example is pachami. You understand, right? The original verb is pacha. There is a vikarana pratyaya a. So it will be pacha. And there will be mi. The pratyaya is anunasika pratyaya. That's varga panchama. So what does the sutra say? Ato adantasya angasya dirghaha bhavati. Kutra bhavati? Yayadau pratyaya pare. Yay varnayana pratyayasya prarambha bhavati chet. ये इत्युक्ते किं वर्ग पंचम अंतस्थस् झकार भकारौ सो तत्र प्रत्येकं स्वीकृत्य एकमेकम् उदाहरणं वर्ग पंचम इत्यस्य मिप् इति प्रत्ययः नो चेत् महा इति प्रत्ययः पठामि पठामः in both the cases it is patha plus a plus mi becomes pathami patha plus a plus maha becomes pathamah for antasthaha the example would be the middle one pathavah patha plus a plus vaha pathavah Ramaya, Rama plus ya, Ramaya. So these are the examples of antasthaha. For the jhakara and bhakara, there is no example of jhakara. It's only for bhakara. So jhabhai iti ekatra rupena sthapitam asti Ramabhyam. So that is an example of supicha, which basically takes the anuvritti of yaya. Any questions on ato dirgho yai? Yai iti kimartham? ययादि प्रत्ययः यत्र नास्ति सो झभय तादृशः ययादि प्रत्ययः यत्र नास्ति तत्र एतादृशः दीर्घादेशः न भवति सो फॉर एग्जांपल पच्यतः इत्यत्र न भवति पचसि इत्यत्र न भवति सो सकारादि प्रत्ययः तकारादि प्रत्ययः तेषां विषये दीर्घादेशः न भवति अतः तत्र यय इति उच्यते और पचध्वम इति अस्ति धकारस्य उदाहरणं दातुं शक्यते सो दैट्स अ बेटर एग्जांपल एक्चुअली पचध्वम इत्यत्र धकारः अस्ति सो इमीडिएट नेक्स्ट शिवसूत्रं तत्र दीर्घः न भवति सो यू मस्ट एंड इट एट य you cannot take it even one shiva sutram ahead because otherwise it will cause an unnecessary dirgha desha in cases like pachadhvam clear or pachadhve pachate pachete pachante pachase pachethe pachadhve and pache pachavahe pachamahe so there it will cause a dirgha desha so idanim pashyamah jha bha gha dha dha are together the varga chaturthaha so just like the way ञमङणनम all the varga panchamahas are collected together he could have easily collected varga chaturthas together jha bha gha dha dha the only reason that he does not do it is because he wants to separate the bha from the remaining one so that the dirgha happens for ramabhyam but not for pachadhvam clear this part so why is yay pratyahara extremely crucial because he wants a dirgha only till bha he does not want a dirgha for gha dha and dha now there are no ghakaradi pratyayas but there will be dhakaradi pratyayas there will be dhakaradi pratyayas so pachadhvam ityatra dirghah na bhavati
But why wasn't the jha added with the घढधष if it was not having any this thing? Why wasn't it included with this?
because ekacho basho bhash cannot conclude a jha see you need a bhash pratyahara in the next shiva sutram and bhash can only include bha gha dha dha okay so jha has to be
Okay, I
taken
got
out
it.
झषस्तथोर्धोधः इत्यत्रापि झष् प्रत्याहारः अपेक्षते तत्र भकारः अपि अन्तर्भवति किल
जशस्ततो धोता इत्यत्र भकार अपि अन्तर्भवति but that's not a proper example right I mean jhash is so other I mean if jha goes somewhere else like if jha goes before gha then instead of jashos tathor dhoda you say bhashos tathor dhoda and it wouldn't matter you get what I'm saying right You are just rearranging the letters in a pratyahara. Am I audible or not audible?
Audible.
Yeah. So you're just rearranging the letters of the pratyahara. You change the name of the pratyahara accordingly. The question was why jha has to be left out is because there is a bhash pratyahara which should not include jha. अग्रिमं शिवसूत्रं घढधष घढध इत्येतान् वर्णान् उपदिश्य पूर्वांश्च उपदिश्य अन्ते षकारम् इतं करोति प्रत्याहारार्थं तस्य ग्रहणं भवति द्वाभ्याम् इत्युक्ते द्वाभ्यां प्रत्याहाराभ्याम् अस्य ग्रहणं भवति झष् इति प्रत्याहारः भष् इति प्रत्याहारः सो झष् इति प्रत्याहारः भष् इति प्रत्याहारः both of these you see used in one and single, I mean in one sutram itself. Ekacho basho bhash jhashantasya stvoho. This sutram you will learn when you study halanta prakaranam. You remember or you might know words like kamaduha, the name of the dhenu kamaduha, tasya prathamaikavachanam kim bhavati kamadhuk iti bhavati. Kamadhuk iti, those of you who have memorized the words properly. So that kind of transformation is given by ekacho basho bhajyasantasya stoho or bhotsyate or abuddhvam. So this sutra has some specific applications in Tinganta Prakriya and Subanta Prakriya. You will learn this sutra in the Halanta Prakaranam. So I don't want to spend time on this. It's a little early for us to discuss this. So let's not spend more time on this. Just understand that there are just two pratyaharas, jhasha, which includes jha and sha, jha of jhabhay and sha of ghadadash. So jhash is essentially varna chaturtha, varga chaturthaha. So jha, bha, gha, dha, all the varga chaturthas are included in jhasha. And then bhasha is just all the varga chaturthas except for jhakara. So he needs to put jhakara outside those four. So he prefers to put it in the beginning. So jha iti पूर्वस्मिन् शिवसूत्रे किमर्थं स्थापिता अस्ति वस्तुतः यय इति प्रत्याहारे तस्य किमपि प्रयोजनं न. In yaya you don't see examples of jhakaradi pratyayas, but you cannot take it out because you want it to be out of the bhasha pratyahara. अतः तत्र प्रारम्भे झकारेण प्रारम्भं कृत्वा तदनन्तरं भ घ ढ ध इति वर्णक्रमः दीयते. अतः घढधष इति शकारेण द्वौ प्रत्याहारौ झष भष, both of them can be seen used in one single sutram. Ekacho basho bhash झषन्तस्य स्फोः. अग्रिमं दशमं शिवसूत्रं जबगडदश. सो जबगडदश इत्यत्र पुनः वर्गतृतीयाः क्रमेण उपस्थापिताः सन्ति. That also makes an ending point of the mrudu vyanjanas. At the sh, the mrudu vyanjanas end. Extremely important place because in general vyanjanas are primarily classified into mrudu vyanjanas and karkasha vyanjanas. This is where the mrudu vyanjanas end. So extremely important place. No doubt there are like 6 different pratyaharas made of this shakara. So j ba ga da da ityetan varnan upadishya पूर्वांश्च उपदिश्य अन्ते शकारम् इतं करोति प्रत्याहारार्थं तस्य ग्रहणं भवति षड्भिः प्रत्याहारैः अश हश वश जश झष बश षड्भिः प्रत्याहारैः अस्य ग्रहणं भवति. Most of these should be or all of these should be familiar to you. Let's take one by one. Ash किमस्ति अत्र सर्वेपि स्वराः and mrudu vyanjanani. So starting with all the way ayuna up to jabagada so half of the vyanjanas, the mrudu vyanjanas and the entire set of swaras is included in asha. Kim sutram bho bhago ago apurvasya yaha ashi iti sutram. Kim udaharanam bhojanaha agho rakshasaha or say bhago ishwaraha are all the examples. Bho bhago agho apurvasya yoshi. किमर्थम अश इत्यत्रैव अंतः करणीयः. So जबगडदश take immediately next letter ख खफछठथचटतव. So that's the first letter in the karkasha vyanjanas. You don't want to include them. हो हो खगाः अत्र न भवति. So ash eva asti. So next one, if you take say khagaha, you don't want to do the same prakriya that you do in bhojanaha. So bho bhago ago apurvasya yoshi ityatra bhoho khagaha ityatra na bhavati. The next one is hasha. The vyanjana, the mrudu vyanjanas are all collected in hasha. Again, very well known sutram. Hashicha,
She-
Shivo Vandyaha. Shivo, very good. Shivo Vandyaha. These examples should be at the tip of the tongue. So Shivo Vandyaha iti ekam udaharanam. The counter example can always be given with a kh. So if you want to get out of the mrudu vyanjanas, the first vyanjana that comes in the next Shiva sutram. So jabagdadash kha pha cha. So you take a kh. There are multiple words, right? Khelati iti asti, khelaha iti asti, khagaha iti asti, khadati iti asti. You can take many words. Shivaha khelati ityatra shivo khelati iti na bhavati. So r is not converted to u because it is not in a list of mrudu vyanjanas. अग्रिमः प्रत्याहारः वश. अस्मिन् प्रत्याहारे किं भवति? हकारः नास्ति, यकारः नास्ति. So ह y, only these two are removed. H, y, starting with v, you have all the mrudu vyanjanas. So sarvani mrudu vyanjanani except for h and except for y. तस्य प्रयोगः इडागम प्रकरणे भवति. नेड वशी कृति. तस्य प्रयोगः कृदन्त प्रकरणे एव भवति. You have not studied it. कृदन्त प्रकरणम is all the way at the end. So नेड वशी कृति. कः अर्थः? कृत प्रत्ययः. This sutram is specifically for कृत प्रत्ययः. If you have a krut pratyay that begins with a vash letter, tatra idagamah na bhavati. So idagama is an important step in case of tinganta or krudanta prakriya. So patita, you see
आर्धधातुकस्येड्
as
बलादेः वश्
Okay.
इति अस्ति चेत् इडागमः न भवति इति.
correct. So val pratyaharasya varnah yatra vidyate tatra idagamah bhavitum arhati. Bhavati iti na bhavitum arhati. And then he says, in case of krudantas, some places don't get an idagama. Like for vasha, you don't get an idagama at all. So ned vashi kruti. The general rule is that val asti chet idagamaha bhavati, but so that rule is applicable for tingantas, but for krudantas, a subset has been removed. So vash, that's the initial portion, has been removed. These all should come in front of eyes. So val is basically from this all the way till l. एते सर्वे वर्णाः सन्ति चेत् इडागमः भवितुम् अर्हति सामान्यरूपेण, परन्तु कृदन्त प्रत्ययानां परन्तु कृत् प्रत्ययानां विषये व इत्यस्मात् आरभ्य श इति अस्ति चेत् इडागमः न भवति. So pathit, so ta is not in that list, so there will be an idagama. So pathita ityatra idagamah bhavati, pathitum ityatra idagamah bhavati. So the counter examples, I don't expect you to know them, we will not go in the details, but the counter examples would be like manin, or say ato manin vanip kvanipascha. So manin iti asti, vanip iti asti, kvanip iti asti, they are the krut pratyayas. So idagamah nishidyate na id vashikruti etesham vishay idagamah na bhavati. Other pratyayas like kt, ktavatu, ktva, tumun, tavyat, tavya, etesham sarvesham vishay idagamah bhavitum arhati. अग्रिमः प्रत्याहारः जश् इति, one of the most important ones. वर्ग तृतीयाः झलां जश् झषि झलां जशोन्ते इति सूत्रेषु अस्य प्रयोगः कृतः अस्ति. So conversion to वर्ग तृतीय is one of the most important conversions in the vyanjana sandhis also. So conversion to varga tritiyas. So some example, marut becomes marud, or say the dish becomes dig. So dish ityasya dik iti ado bhavati, tadanantaram dig iti bhavati. Iti bahuni udaharanani. Vach becomes vak and then becomes vag, vagishaha, and so on. So many examples. अग्रे अस्ति झष् इति. झलां झष् झषि इत्यस्मिन् सूत्रे तस्य प्रत्याहारस्य प्रयोगः कृतः अस्ति. So वर्ग, all the वर्ग तृतीयास and वर्ग चतुर्थास are combined together in the झष प्रत्याहार. So झलां झष् झषि इति सूत्रे अस्य प्रयोगः कृतः दृश्यते. अग्रे अस्ति बश. एकाचो बशो भष झषन्तस्य स्थोः इति सूत्रे बश इति प्रत्याहारः. तस्यापि इदानीं चिन्तनं न कुर्मः. किमर्थम्? I have not taught you, or you have not studied this sutram completely. Ekacho basho bhajyasantasya sthuh. So that way we complete the 6 different pratyaharas from the Jabagdadsh sutram. Agrimam Shivasutram खफछठथचटतव. So खफछठथचटतव, the longest one. What does it include? It includes all the Varga Dvitiyas and some of the Varga Prathamas. So khaphatth, all the Varga Dvitiyas are included, and you have chatata, Varga Prathamas are included. So khaphatthchatata ityetan varnan upadishya. Now he doesn't say purvanscha because you don't need the previous letters. So ityetan varnan upadishya ante vakaramitam karoti pratyaharartham ekah eva pratyaharah chava iti. So starting from ch up to the last v, starting from ch, ka for ch up to the last v. So you have chava pratyaharah नश्छव्य प्रशान इति तत्र सूत्रम अंबरे छविनान्तस्य पदस्य रुहु इति वृत्तिः भवान् तिष्ठति इति उदाहरणम्. These are all well known, right? Nashchavya prashana and all that has already been taught. So nashchavya ekameva tatra udaharanam. I think chava is used only in the one sutram, nashchavya prashana. Any questions on this?
Why is it chav and why is it not chai? Tatra bhavan karoti, bhavan pathati, tatra rutvam na bhavati.
Very good. Tatra na bhavati, na bhavati. Bhavan karoti remains bhavan karoti. You don't do anything else. Right? So bhavan karoti remains bhavan karoti. That is correct. That's exactly the counter example I was coming to. Bhavan tishtati ityatra rutvam bhavati. So rutvam itself na bhavati. So see, the process is you have bhavan plus tishtati. Sorry, bhavan plus tishtati. There the rutvam happens because of nashchavya prashan. That rutvam itself is blocked. Once rutvam happens, then further process atra anunasika purva sutva and so on will take up. But if rutvam does not happen, none of the further process is involved. So you just say bhavan karoti, keep it as bhavan karoti. Clear?
Atah chai nasti chav iti.
Atah chai iti nasti chav iti asti. That is correct. Therefore, you have to end with chava. The more interesting question is this hanging people kha and pha. See, there is only one Shiva Sutra, there is only one Pratyahara that is being created, chava. There is no point in keeping kha and pha earlier. You could easily put them in the next sutram also because there is no other Pratyahara starting with this cha. The only Pratyahara that starts with this cha is chava. So there is no point in keeping kha and pha over here. You could just say cha, tha, tha, chatatav, kha, pha, kapai. You get what I'm saying? Or this takes a little time to digest. The question is, the pratyahara is chava. What is the Shiva Sutram? Kha, pha, cha, tha, tha, chatatav. The pratyahara is chava. So why is kha and pha present in the Shiva Sutram is the question.
In chai,
So what is the
it should not
alternative?
be included.
Correct. Correct. So chai is the pratyahara in the next sutram. You can see there is a pratyahara chai in the next sutram. So that chai can only consist of cha to ya, which is varga prathamas. If you do not put kha and pha over here, you will have to put it in the next Shiva Sutram, and then chai pratyahara cannot be created. The point is, or the problem is, there is no chai pratyahara given by Panini. Chai is given by Vartikakara. Chayo dvitiya shari paushkar sader iti vachyam iti vartikena chai pratyahara diyate. There is no chai pratyahara in Ashtadhyayi. So keep chai pratyahara aside for now, because when Panini was writing Ashtadhyayi and when Panini got or created the Shiva Sutras, we don't know what it happened. But when he had the Shiva Sutras, there was no discussion of chai pratyahara. So keep chai pratyahara aside. Now, if you ignore the chai pratyahara, why do you think kha and pha should be in this sutram? All the pratyaharas are over here. So you can think a little bit and find out why kha and pha is in this sutram and why it cannot be put in the next sutram.
Char asti khalu. Char is varga prathamaha and shashasar.
Right. So you're correct. So char pratyahara tatra asti. Char ityasmin pratyahare tatra kha tha pha ityetayoho grahanam na bhavati. So kha and pha must be kept outside of chara pratyahara. So that's, I think, exactly what the Kashika says. Okay. So kha pha grahanam uttarartham iti tatra ekena vakyena tasya spashtikaranam diyate. Kha pha खकार फकारयोः अस्मिन् सूत्रे ग्रहणं नैवावश्यकं यथा छव इति प्रत्याहारे तयोः समावेशः न भवति. So in the chav pratyahara you do not need kh and ph, but there is a pratyahara like char. So I think, is that the only exception? So yara, jhara, khara,
I
shara
think
and
only
all
char.
other legs. Yeah, the only exception is chara. So for chara pratyahara, you want only cha, ta, ta, ka, pa and sh, sh, sa. You cannot have kh and ph. So kh and ph has to be kept outside. That's the correct answer.
Mahoday, and also kai, right? Kai will not include cha, ta, tha if you move it down.
So then you change khai to chai, and then it will solve the problem, right? So when you move the letters around, you're free to change Shiva Sutra. You're free to change pratyaharas also.
But there is a format, right, Mahodaya? He is not jumbling all the letters. He's always trying to group it with the vargas, right?
Yeah, but is there a reason for that? Is the question. So format is what we see, but is there a reason for that format, or it just naturally emerges because the pratyaharas are to be arranged in that way?
That
So for the
arrangement helps us
format,
in remembering.
we already have the Matruka Patha, the kha, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, and so on. That's actually a much better arrangement. So ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya is actually a better arrangement than this arrangement. Why? Because in the ka, kha, ga, gha, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, the letters are arranged based on their location of pronunciation. Sarve kanthya varnaha, tadanantaram sarve talavyaha, tadanantaram murdhanyaha, and so on. Clear? So these are all arranged in a specific order, starting from back to front. You have Kanthya, you have Talavya, Murdhya, Dantya, and finally Oshtya. Here, this is all screwed up arrangement. First of all, we think it is arranged by Varga Panchama, Varga Chaturtha, and so on. But there also the arrangement is ulta pulta. So ञमङणनम, he starts with a cha varga, but kha, pha, cha, tha, tha, he starts with a ka varga. So is basically the basic purpose of Shiva Sutras is to create pratyaharas. Don't try to read beyond it. It's not for any kind of ease of pronunciation or any kind of internal structure has been exposed. Nothing like that. Okay, so it's all mathematical treatment. You can easily move kha and pha to the next sutram. The reason why you don't do that is this chaya or this chara.
There's something
Yes.
that one may say, that is, if you leave out the ever ञमङणनम above and shashasar hal below, which means vertical column 1, 2, 3, 4. If we take only vertical column 1, 2, 3, 4, जबगडदश is one column, जबगडदश is one column, खफछठथचटतव there, you need to have this खफछठथचटतव one column, चटतव kapai another column. So they become 4 columns, vertical columns. In the Matrika, it is horizontal column. In this, it is vertical columns. I don't know whether it makes any sense.
So that logic is correct, and you can always extend it. So even if you include ञमङणनम, that becomes the 5th vertical column. So you can also start your argument from ञमङणनम and say that is 5th vertical column, then next 4th vertical column, 3rd column, 2nd column, and 1st column. That is how it is arranged. That is correct. But the point what I'm trying to make is this arrangement naturally comes out because the 5th, 4th, 3rd columns are mrudu vyanjanas. He wants to separate them. 1st and 2nd are karkasha vyanjanas. He wants to separate them. So anyway, he wants to keep 3rd, 4th, and 5th separate. There also he wants to keep the 5th separate because he has a pratyahara like yama or nama, or yama is in the Unadi Sutram, so we can ignore, but you have pratyahara like ama or yama. So he wants to keep the 5th separate. So he keeps the 5th separate, then he needs a pratyahara called jhasha, so he keeps the 4th separate. So pratyaharas are dictating that it should be arranged by column, but within column, it's all mixed and matched. In fact, there are no individual Shiva Sutras for columns also. So खफछठथचटतव, he does not end the Shiva Sutram over there. He just says खफछठथचटतव continues because he does not need a separate situation where only Varga Dvitiyas are needed. So he combines them with chatata. So essentially this arrangement is all inspired because of the need of creating the sutras. अग्रिमं शिवसूत्रं कपय इति कप इत्येतौ वर्णौ उपदिश्य पूर्वांश उपदिश्य अन्ते यकारम् इतं करोति प्रत्याहारार्थं तस्य ग्रहणं भवति चतुर्भिः इत्युक्ते अष्टाध्याय्यां तत्र चत्वारः प्रत्याहाराः वार्तिककारेण तत्र एकः पञ्चमः प्रत्याहारः पाठितः अस्ति. सो तस्य ग्रहणं भवति चतुर्भिः अनुस्वारस्य यै परसवर्णः. सो यै इति प्रत्याहारः, मय उयो वो वा मय इति प्रत्याहारः, झयोहोऽन्यतरस्यां झय इति प्रत्याहारः, शर्पूर्वा खयः पुमखय्यं परे इत्यत्र खय प्रत्याहारः, चयो द्वितीया शरि पौष्करसादेर् इति वाच्यम् इत्यस्मिन् वार्तिके चय इति प्रत्याहारस्य अपि प्रयोगः कृतः अस्ति. लेट्स् गो वन बाय वन. यै अनुस्वारस्य यै परसवर्णः. किम् उदाहरणम्? Is this taught or is this not taught?
Ganga.
Ganga. Gama plus Ganga. Kampate, Vandate. So the anuswar becomes the parasavarna. Anuswarasya yai parasavarna. Why is this yai word written in this particular sutram? You want a counter example. You want to justify why yai is there. You want to justify why you cannot have a different pratyahara over there.
Have sha or sa, then there is no anunasika, right? For sha, sa.
For sha, there are no anunasikas. Correct. So give me an example.
Nam plasyati nansyati.
नम प्लस्यति नम्स्यति परन्तु तत्र अनुस्वारः कुत्र अस्ति? अनुस्वारस्य यै परसवर्ण इति उच्यते. मकारस्य
संहिता इति
भवति.
अनुस्वारः भवति.
नश्चापदान्तस्य जलि इत्यत्र मकारस्य अनुस्वारः भवति. अग्रे अनुस्वारस्य यै परसवर्ण इत्यत्र परसवर्ण न भवति. लेट्स नॉट हैव यै प्रत्याहार. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ परसवर्ण you will get?
परसवर्ण तु नास्ति.
Nasti. So that's okay. So if it is nasti, then it doesn't matter, right? It's not causing any adverse effects. So namsyati is a good example, but it's harmless.
Then char plus anti charanti.
Char plus anti charanti. Where is anuswara there?
The nakara will become anuswara. Anti ityasya.
So nakara does become anuswara, and then again it becomes nakara, right? So that happens. That is the reason why natva doesn't happen. Yeah. You remember natva is sandwiched between monuswara, nashchapadantasya jali, and anuswarasya parasarana.
Simhaha iti.
Correct. So same example, right? So what would happen if there is a parasavarna?
So parasavarna, if it happens, then the anuswara will get converted to hakara itself. Okay.
So is hakara anunasika? You need an anunasika parasavarna.
Yeah, there is no anunasika. So
okay.
How do we pick
so that's not a correct example. Let's come to Vijay Lakshmi ji. You were saying something?
अस्मिन् सूत्रे अत्र तु पदमध्ये भवति अनुस्वारस्य परसवर्णः अङ्क इत्येवं, परन्तु यकारस्य पदमध्ये कदापि न भवति, यकार वकारयो लकारयोः.
So tell me in the next sutram, va padantasya, why do you need a ya over there? So why do you need a ya over there? Tell me an example. Why do you need a yakara?
तु संयोगः तत्र भवति खलु.
So why is ya needed? What would happen is ya is
अग्रिमसूत्रे आवश्यकम् अस्ति इति अहं कुत्रापि पठितवती आसम्.
You are not getting the question. You are not getting the question. Ya iti avashakam asti iti prashnaha nasti. Ya is obviously necessary. You need it for anuswarasya yai parasavarna also, because you are doing the parasavarna in presence of ya. All these examples, Ganga and Vandate and Namseti and all that, not Namseti, but Ganga and so on, all these examples actually need a ya pratyahar over there. Vandate, Kampati and so on. The question that we are trying to ask is ya iti specifically kimartham uktam. Why cannot you expand that pratyahara in either directions?
प्रत्याहारे सर्वेषां वर्णानाम् अनुनासिक वर्णः अस्ति इति कारणतः.
That is okay, but why not expand that, or why not just get rid of it? Anuswarasya parasavarnah. Yatra bhavitum arhati tatra parasavarnah. If you say anuswarasya parasavarnah, what it means? It means that pratyahara is no more a restriction. Ya is no more a restriction. So yatra sambhavati tatra karotu.
स्पष्टार्थं वा?
Tadeva uttaram. Spashtartham ityeva uttaram. Otherwise, there is no need of yaya in anuswarasya yai parasavarna. So if you want to rewrite Ashtadhyayi by getting rid of two letters, it is very easy to get rid of yaya. There is no point of having yaya in anuswarasya yai parasavarna. This is what I wanted one of you to speak.
So you mean to say if there is no parasavarna, then you don't apply it. That's how it is.
Exactly. If there is a possibility of parasavarna, you apply it. If there is no possibility of parasavarna, you don't apply it. As simple as that. Why do you need to restrict it with yaya?
The swaras are also having your
correct. I was waiting for somebody to say this. That's a very good question. What about swaras? Swaras have anunasikas, right? The problem is with swaras you don't get anuswara at all. Anuswarasya yai parasavarna. When swara is present, you do not get anuswara. Anuswara is only by monuswara, which needs a hala, and nashchapadantasya jhali, which needs a jhala. That is a very crucial missing link that you have pointed out. First, you need an anuswara. Anuswaraha kutra bhavati kevalam hal varne pare by monuswaraha or by jhal varne pare by nashchapadantasya jhali. There is no third sutram that gives anuswara. So monuswaraha and nashchapadantasya jhali. Clear? Therefore, if there is an anuswara, it will mean that there is a hal or a jhal letter in front of it. The only hal or jhal letters that have the parasavarna or that can opt for parasavarna are the yaya letters, and therefore you could have just said anuswarasya parasavarnaha, you would be good to go.
So you are saying that the yai is only for clarity? Is that what you're saying?
I did not. Veenaji said that. I just seconded it. So you should ask her, why is it for clarity? I believe it should be for clarity. So
is yai is this sutram the only sutram which has the yai pratyahara?
Anuswarasya yai parasavarna is the only one. See, what is happening is that by getting rid of yaya pratyahara, we are not getting rid of any Shiva sutram. Kappai is a big Shiva sutram, and that year will be used for multiple places like mai, jai, khai, chai. We are not getting rid of any of them. We are only getting rid of one pratyahara called yaya, which means we are getting rid of two letters from Anuswarasya yai parasavarna. That's all that we are doing.
We can't leave, even if you don't say Anuswarasya parasavarna. You can't say like that. When there is a parasavarna, you have to put Ali or Yai or something.
No, I mean you can always.
Look nice.
No, but
you can have... but it looks so bad. See, there is hardly the nimittam without the nimitta saptami. Hardly any vidhi is there.
No, but you have sutras like tasya lopaha. I mean, itsamnyaka lopa is letter is removed. Tasya lopaha. So then you don't have a nimitta over there. If you have an itsanya letter, it's removed. So in the same way, if you have an anuswara, it becomes parasavarna. That is acceptable. I mean, it might sound weird. I understand. I totally appreciate what you're saying. But there are sutras which we just give the vidhi, right?
No, what is that? What is that company is to kick
I
out
understand.
the
So
I don't
it looks
understand.
very weird. I understand it looks very weird.
There, and the matter is very clear. And the Sasha sir is simply out of that score. And that he says it is not Sasha sir. Good. There's nothing there to be amended there. What need not be fixed may not be fixed.
Correct.
Is
so
perfectly all right.
Yeah. So I'm not arguing that yai is wrong. We are, see how most of the times what the Bhashyakara says is this is useless. This is not necessary. Let's get rid of it. Is what the style of Bhashyakara's argument is. I'm just trying to replicate that. This is not wrong. There are two types of pratyakhyanas. One pratyakhyana is Bhashyakara trying to oppose what Panini is saying. That's called pratyakhyana. Two types of pratyakhyanas are there. In one case, he says what Panini has said is wrong. So this is, we can get rid of it. In the second case, he says it is unnecessary. A lot of pratyakyanas are about unnecessary.
Dhatoh iti
Dhatoho.
sutram.
Dhatoho iti sutre. So there is, it's unnecessary. Oh, you have been really studying my classes. Okay. So I spent one full session, I think 90 minutes on why dhatoho is, yeah, okay. Okay. So dhatoho tatra sutra dvayam asti. So 3191 dhatoho, the Bhashyakara finally says it's unnecessary. So that's a different type of simple pratyakhana.
Personally, Dhataha Sutra is very nice, clear, and makes it very understandable. I don't know why.
So we are not removing it. It's, yeah, I mean, this is all discussion that is intellectual. We are not removing it. It's a very important sutram because it separates the krud and ting from the vikarana and sanadi pratyaya. So very important sutram. But yeah, essentially what Bhashyakara says is get rid of it. So in the same way, you say get rid of it. Yai in anuswarasya yai parasavarna.
अत्र काशिक for the anuswarasya yai parasavarnah atra yai iti kim, and they have given.
That's all incorrect examples. So let's take a look at it. Very good question though. Kutra asti yai iti kim? Yai iti kim, same thing, right? Namsyate, what she pointed out. Same thing. Akramsyate, achikramsyate. So he's essentially saying that anuswara cannot become sakara, which is okay. I mean, anuswara does not become sakara because it is not anunasika. So.
But do we have any examples where he has given a broad vidhi, but it applies only to a particular set alone, Mahoday? I don't think he has done
So
it
here
anywhere like
also
this,
we are
right?
not saying it applies to a single set. See, understand this. Now I did not want to go in this particular details, but let me talk about this again. In this yay pratyahara is very weird actually. If you take a look at yay pratyahara, there is one letter in this yay pratyahara which is useless. It is r. Everybody else has an anunasika counterpart. Y has an anunasika yakara, V has an anunasika vakara, L has an anunasika lakara, R does not have anybody. So anuswarasya yai parasavarna ityatra R itself is useless. So then if he wants to include one useless, why not he include other useless like sh, sa, ha and so on. And if he wants to include all useless, get rid of the pratyahara and say anuswarasya parasavarna. Clear? So by including extra letters like sh, sa in the whole picture, we are not disturbing anything. He himself has destroyed it. By including re, ha, he himself has said that if there is no anunasika counterpart, you do not do the parasavarna. R does not have an anunasika counterpart, so you do not do the parasavarna. If R is allowed in that sutram without having any purpose, why not have other letters in the same sutram without having any purpose? Clear?
Mahoday, ञमङणनम अपि useless तत्र.
किमर्थम्?
ञमङणनम आदौ भवति चेत्
आदौ न, अनुस्वारस्य परसवर्णः.
हाँ, तो अनुस्वारस्य परे ञमङणनम इति भवति चेत् तस्य परसवर्णः तु नास्ति.
तन्नमति, त्वन्नमसि. So ma becomes anuswara vaiva. Monuswara and mapadantasya will become an optional nakara. Okay.
Tannamati.
Maybe because he wanted to get one saptami this thing inside. So for the pare to show kasya pare or something. So that's why. So he decided to use say yai is the safest saptami to be taken. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not constructing my words correctly, but because he's taking yai. So,
that's okay. The question is it necessary? See, we are not arguing that he was wrong. We will argue it like that at some other point in time, but not now.
Anuswarasya parasavarna, kasya parasavarna, or what? Something.
Anuswarasya parasavarna. Kutra bhavati, prakriyayam bhavati, kada bhavati, yada shakyam tada bhavati. Tasya lopaha, kasya lopaha, itsamnyakasya lopaha. Kutra bhavati, prakriyayam bhavati, kada bhavati, yada shakyam ched bhavati. Same answers I am giving. You don't have an issue with tasya lopaha. You have an issue with anuswarasya parasavarna. You see the similarity in the structure? Tasya lopaha is exactly the same sutram. Yatra yatra itsamnyaka varnaha vidyate tatra tatra tasya lopaha bhavati, hands down. Yatra yatra anuswaraha vidyate tatra tatra tasya parasavarnaha bhavati, hands down. It's exactly the same sutra. Many such examples are there. Idito num dhatoho yatra yatra itvarnaha asti tatra ikaraha itsamyaka tatra tatra tasya numagamaha bhavati. Idito num dhatoho dhatvadeshaha saha no naha. Many such examples are there where you don't have a nimittam at all. You just do the prakriya as soon as you get a chance to do it.
No, he's done it consciously to exclude the swaras, right?
Is there a need to exclude swaras? Tell me a situation where there is an anuswara and then there is a swara and you don't want to do a parasavarana. Anuswara is created only in presence of hal letter. With an h letter, you cannot create an anuswara.
Yes, there is a makara only.
Makara only.
So tvam asi ityatra anuswara kutra asti? Anuswar is not being removed from the sutram.
Tvameva mata, tvameva, it's not there.
So
Tvam eva, ma is there, not anuswara.
Ma is there.
Yes.
Exactly. So anuswarasya parasavarnaha iti sutram bhavet iti vadami, iti vadamaha.
It can't be that simple. There has to be something.
See, there is one
Okay, let me, before all this, 1 second, Sada Gopanji. Before all this goes ahead, I want to clarify a few things. We are not showing Panini down anywhere over here. We are not like showing he's wrong and so on. This is a kind of intellectual discussion that happens, and this is the heart of the grammar community. Every grammarian has done this, and for us to be a better and better grammarians, we have to do this. This is a logical discussion. We are targeting the shastra, we are not targeting the person. So by saying anuswarasya parasavarna and so on, we will disrespect Panini and all that. Don't bring any of those topics in the picture. If your student creates a sutram called anuswarasya yayi parasavarna, how you will try to get rid of the yaya is what you have to take. And this is the approach, that is the only approach that takes the shastra further. Blind vyakti puja does not take the shastra further. So do not misunderstand all this discussion as a disrespect towards the shastra or anything. Bhattoji Dikshit has done it, Nagesha has done it, later the recent Vyakaranas have done it. We are doing the same thing.
So the actual question here, vowels are ruled out because there will be no anuswara for vowels. So ha is the only thing which is in the picture, which why was
So ha, sh, four of them. None of them have anunasika savarna.
So the question is, what if they were included? Anyway, they don't have it, like ra. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yes, it's pretty amazing, right?
Question,
For somebody who wanted to keep his sutras down to as minimalistic as possible, that he actually included yai as an extra word.
It's not amazing. See, if you think about it, you have studied this sutram for so long. Did it occur to anybody of you so long? No, right? This is the first time you're thinking about this, right? So this yaya seems so natural in the sutram that anybody would put it over there. The only fact is, when we put it in retrospect on it, we see it is not needed, right?
Yeah, we never going to think that what if it was not there, what would have happened?
Right.
We don't think in those lines.
Right. But it is very natural to put a yai over there, so I wouldn't blame on anything. It's just that it's fun intellectual exercise to see that yai can be removed. You can say anuswarasya parasvara.
No, just like you have just now said, when there is a question of questioning the Paninian Sutra is one thing, and questioning for better understanding is another thing.
Exactly.
That's what we should
Very
know.
nice. Very nice.
We are not
questioning it for better.
Questioning the thing so that we understand even more. That's
Correct.
it. Already we understood Anuswarasya Parasavana, we very well understood correctly. But even more, what would have happened this way, what would have happened in this, like that,
So
like that kind of question. It's not a question, not in the English, it's very difficult to say. In English, question means you question him. No, here the question is just a question to understand it even better. Thank you.
So we call it Vada and not Vitanda or Jalpa. Vada is a healthy discussion. There are three types of arguments: Vada, Jalpa, Vitanda. Many of you might be knowing it. So Vada is a healthy discussion that's happening over here. And I encourage you to do it every now and then, because this is what Dikshita did, this is what Nagesha did, this is what Kayyeta did. So these guys, at least these guys even use abusive languages to talk about each other. We are not doing that. We are doing a healthy discussion. So it's always encouraged.
But Tatvabodhini just says yayi atra yayi iti spashtartham.
Exactly. Yai iti, that's all that I'm saying. Yai iti spashtartham. Yai iti spashtartham is the whole argument that we are talking about.
When spashtartham is mentioned, that means there must be something to confuse us. Then only you need the spashtartham, right?
Correct. So yai iti spashtartham kimartham. We usually don't go in the Tattva Bodhini in introductory classes. So there's no way you can understand yai iti spashtartham and then get a question. But this question should come to your mind. It's not very common. I'm sure nobody has written a paper on it. So please go ahead and write a paper on it. Don't need to publish it. Just write it for your own sake of understanding. Or do a vakyartha on it if you want.